Hey everyone, it's a dose of Dr. Drew.
Thank you all for coming in. Thank you to our friends at the SAND, the destructive mini device. For those of you that are using needles, it incinerates a needle, turns it into a non-biologically hazardous hub in just a second. Also, our friends at Blue Mic, who have changed our life in terms of the sound of this podcast and the stream. So thank you for that. Thank you all for jumping in. And of course, our friends at Hydrolite, who I used yesterday after my run. This is critical if you get sick. Hydration products are key, and Hydrolite is my very, very, very favorite. So, all right, so let's get to your questions here. We are here, according to Johns Hopkins, at 119,000 cases. The interesting move now will be how quickly we go to 200,000. Is that something that is abrupt, or is it something that starts to slow down? And only the virus knows that, so we'll see how that goes. Hopefully it'll start to slow. It looks like it's starting to slow a little bit in New York City. Somebody's saying the CDC lied. I don't know what you're talking about. I've not seen one inconsistency in anything they have said, so that would be interesting. 70,000 by the end of the week. No, we weren't quite there. We were more like 90,000. And what I said was that if we were at 60, I would feel really good. I also said under 100 and we're okay. So we're okay. And you know, it's not like it's not going to be hundreds and hundreds of thousands of cases. There will be hundreds and hundreds of thousands of cases. So don't let the number scare you. Just to take a deep breath and realize there's 24 million, 30 million flu cases every year. There's 18,000 deaths from that. That if we keep this below those ranges, we're in pretty good shape. And again, under 1 million would be amazing if we can keep it under 1 million for a country our size. You know, in terms of assessing where we are relative to other countries, it's a straw dog. To look at Italy and compare it to the United States. It's Italy, Spain, Germany, France, Switzerland, Netherlands, Belgium combined have the same population as we do. When you add that all up, they're all well ahead of us in terms of the number of cases in Europe. I don't know if you all saw that video I tweeted about. I just would urge you to please do look at it. Let me see. There was an intensivist, a physician from New York City, giving his on-the-ground report. And as I expected, my peers are getting it done. No problem. Not without struggle, but they are getting it done. And he was a very reassuring. He said he felt very confident, very good, and he was in the busiest COVID hospital in the city of New York. So that should make people take a deep breath, feel a little better while we work our way through this thing. Let me find where I did what that tweet was about. It's just down a couple of tweets from where we are. Yes, I put it under very informative video about 2 hours ago. It was David Price, Dr. Price, very reassuring, very pragmatic, very practical, very, very good, solid advice on how to protect ourselves. And what he was getting into in great detail is that our hands are the main unit of transmission. Hands, and then maybe some secretions getting on you. But even when secretions get on you, it's our hands getting it to our face that is the problem. And he said he doubts that there's a significant amount of transmission through surfaces, but we still be very careful in the meantime. But that our hands are the main culprit. And he said, become a hand Nazi. He himself was watching his peers who work around the coronavirus all the time, who were fastidious about the hand washing and the hands not getting to the face. They did not get the virus, even working environments highly concentrated with the virus. So I think we can learn from that. Watch that video. It was very reassuring. Susan, maybe even put it up on the restream. Can I do that? How would I do that?
The link.
Let me text it. I'm going to text it to you.
I don't think I can. Maybe you can email it to me.
Email it? Okay. Give me email or text.
Because I don't have like a text on it.
Okay, so I'm emailing it now, and so let's see if we can get this onto the restream so you all can watch it.
Okay, I'll try.
1 second. My phone is so slow that it doesn't come up with my contacts. Oh my God, it's terrible. This 10 has been my worst cell phone so far, and the battery's gone. It lasts about 2 hours. So, afraid so. We got to come out of this. Are we okay? Bryce is acting. I mean, we're in it now, right? I mean, we're right in the middle of it, and we're all in this together, which is really kind of the weirdly reassuring part about it. And everyone is doing their part. And with any degree of luck, most areas will see some flattening. I know in California, the per capita death rate is flat. So we're doing a really good job in California. I don't know if you noticed, Governor Cuomo this morning was saying that he does have enough ventilators now, that he was concerned he wouldn't, but they do. And the doctor, when you watch the video that we're going to put up here in just a minute.
I don't know if I can do it, okay? I might.
Okay, we'll just copy it and see. And if we can, you'll see how he's not in the least bit concerned about ventilator access. That's not a concern. Atlanta, let's see what's going on.
And if we lose the feed for any reason, we'll start it up again, right?
Uh-oh, what's happening?
Well, sometimes when I add things in the middle of the show, it shuts down the program.
Ooh.
So it'll be fine. We can restart it.
I am looking for you guys. There we go. Corona tracker. Oh, that's not a good one. I'm trying to get some data for you guys. Because somebody's asking about Georgia and Atlanta. So here it is. I think it's the tracking project. Is that it? Nope, that's not it either. Well, all right. Let me go for, there's a less accurate one called World-O-Meter. I'll get there. Coronavirus data. And
I think I did it.
Oh, good job. Let me see.
Look at that.
There it is. Yes, that video you see on the restream there, that Vimeo link.
3993733.
Yeah, copy that and go watch it after we're done today.
You can click on it.
Or you can click through on it. But whatever it is, and once we're done,
Don't go away.
Don't go away. But that's what I'm saying.
It's okay.
Do I think China numbers are true that they only have 80,000? I think China is on the verge of another outbreak, widespread. And in a weird way, we are better off than China because of our widespread distribution. We're dealing with this locally. We're not unprepared. We're actively dealing with it everywhere. And I think as a result, we're going to be better off. What's going to come next is you're going to see more widespread testing for the virus, more widespread testing for the antibodies, and then some sort of tracking system, some sort of system that says you're no longer producing virus, you're immune, or you've never seen never seen the virus before, and we will wear buttons or armbands or something, not armbands, like wristbands or something, like when you go to the bar, something that tells us that it's okay to return to work because you're immune, you've had this thing, and we're going to find out about that in the upcoming weeks. Also, hydroxychloroquine, John, the negative press is just bizarre. It'll be what it will be. I know lots of physicians are using it. There was a lot of initial, very high levels of enthusiasm for it. And we'll see. Hopefully early next week, they'll open some of the studies and we'll see whether hydroxychloroquine bears out. Certainly there are several. That's one of the things, the video I just sent you, you're going to see the doctor says, we're learning how to treat this. We're getting it. We're figuring it out. We're going to have this thing treated. And I totally agree with him on that. Stop wearing masks and gloves in public, here's somebody saying. I don't know that gloves are such a good idea, but I do believe masks are a good idea now that we have adequate masks for the healthcare environment. So before it used to piss me off because I needed to go to the healthcare providers, but it appears now that we are okay with the distribution of masks. Hold on a second. You're worried about RPC, so am I. I'm worried about him. Those buildings are.
About your shows tomorrow.
Yeah, Dr. Oz was very enthusiastic this morning about treatment. He should be, and I'm with him on that. He and I have shared a lot of the notes that we're hearing from the front lines. Tomorrow we're going to have Bert Kreischer's wife in here, Leanne Kreischer, from her podcast, Wife of the Party.
Wife of the Party.
Wife of the Party. And her partner, Christina P., who's also my partner. So they have a podcast at your mom's house called Where My Mom's At. And I have a podcast with Christina called Dr. Drew After Dark. So we'll all be here tomorrow to give a little. You guys didn't respond that well yesterday to a comedian being on the show. But I'm going to try it again tomorrow. We're going to maybe try it again on Monday, too.
And this week we have Tom Segura on your show number 59.
Of After Dark.
Yeah. I mean, if you want something other than coronavirus, probably a good place to go.
You want to talk about Monday, too?
Yeah.
Tell him.
Monday, we have the ever so famous Jim Jeffries. He's coming in the studio, and we're going to catch up with him because he's got nothing going on right now.
And he's concerned. He's got lots of questions, and he's a friend for a long time, so he's going to come by, and we're going to do a stream with Jim Jeffries, comedian, and then tomorrow, Christina P.
Tomorrow's going to be more of your mom's
The mommies.
view.
The mommies.
Yeah, what it's like to be a mom. But also, Christina P is amazing, and so is Leanne. Together, they're amazing, fun and interesting. And we'll be taking calls. So if you want to call in and talk to them.
Somebody's asking about whether or not hospitals have adequate personal protective equipment. The answer is they do. The question is, will they have enough going forward? And those questions are being actively addressed. So it looks like they're going to have that. Again, it's in progress. I hear nothing but success on that front, as multiple manufacturing centers in the country spool up to create this equipment. People that made nuclear power plant protective gear, jeans, clothing, even plants like Apple that have to use these devices for the employers. They're sending millions of them, so we're good with. There was some little shortage of the plastic shields, but it seems like they have gotten through that as well. Somebody's asking who Jim Jeffries is. If you don't know that, I suggest you Google it.
He's a very famous comedian.
Yes.
From Australia. Also, the star of the Jim Jeffries show. That was on Comedy Central, right?
I believe so. And also Legit, which was a great scripted comedy series with Ginger Gonzaga, who you saw up here a couple weeks ago.
Good friend.
Yeah. What's her opinion on the situation, better or worse than last week? So this is from Joe. Joe, my opinion on the situation is it is deep in the fog of war right now. So we don't know. This was, I knew, going to be the hard part. As the numbers start accelerating and get kind of scary, it's going to be hard to know where we are. In the next couple of days, that should sort of clarify itself. We should understand whether things are slowing. We've had all these backlog tests. We have had more widespread testing. We've had more spread of the illness. Essentially, prior to the lockdown, everyone that spread it now is coming in sick. So that all should settle in the next few days. And so how that settles and how the rate slows, that will be the situation. But the other thing is you're going to hear this upcoming week about treatment and testing. Treatment and testing. That's what next week is about. How much more widespread viral testing can we do? What kind of serological antibody testing can we do? And what about the treatments? How effective are they? How are they being deployed? Do we have enough of that? Can we do prophylaxis? In other words, can you prevent this with hydroxychloroquine, which I know some doctors are taking it? Somebody's asking, Tom Segura was on last night. No, he was on Dr. Drew After Dark, which is up now as a podcast and on YouTube. Get it at Dr. Drew, at the website, drdrew.com. Pregnant women should wear masks for protection. Yeah. I mean, everyone, look, if there's any... if you watch that video we just put up, what he will tell you is the vast majority of transmission is personal relationships, people that are close to you transmitting it to one another. So that's where you got to be careful.
Also, watch Tom Segura's new Netflix special. It's hysterical. It's a good one. It's so funny that we know him.
You think that's fun?
Yeah.
Best way or safe way for us to go back to work, that is, as I've said from the very beginning, that's going to be the toughest putt on this whole thing. How we do that, we're going to probably do something like what South Korea did, which is using technology and testing. There should be 3 T's. So it's treatment, technology, and testing. And we'll have ways of monitoring people, whether they have antibodies, whether they have virus, whether they've been treated, whether they have viral shedding, whether they've resolved the illness. I mean, we're going to have all kinds of, we're probably going to, I imagine sort of multicolored wristbands or something that we can identify who's safe and who's not, who we should distance from, who we shouldn't. And there should be technology around that too. If you saw, again, I mentioned this yesterday, Dr. Birx, turn up my mic, Dr. Birx said day before yesterday that she had been doing this in Africa and it's very successful. And if she can do it in countries that are undeveloped, certainly we can do it here.
Is that better? I turned it up.
You can ask them. We'll see.
Full blast.
How is Texas doing? Okay, let's see what's going on here. So I'm going to go. Somebody's asking, we got questions about Georgia and Texas. So let me see if I can answer those questions. We are up, gone up a lot in the last couple of days. But of course, the more cases we have, the more we go up, right? It's an exponential kind of a growth. Georgia is at 2,300 cases, up 168. That's pretty good, Georgia. I mean, I imagine it's all in Atlanta, or most of it there. So I don't know if you're locked down or not in Georgia. In Texas, again, same number of cases as Georgia, up a little more from yesterday, but think of Georgia. I mean, Texas versus Georgia population side. I imagine Texas has a lot more.
New Orleans got hit.
Yeah, that's really the concern right now. How
you think it's because of Mardi Gras, right?
I'm not sure. That's kind of a just so explanation of why they're having trouble. Certainly, that didn't help things, did it? To be fair, I mean, here we had a marathon a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Texas has 28 million. Georgia has 10 million. So, in spite of having 3 times the population in Texas, they have the same number of cases. So, and probably 3 times the surface area of the state too. So, Florida's increasing a bit too. So again, it's going to break out. It's going to come into different regions, and be prepared. Stay, careful, diligence. Watch the CDC standards. Somebody said on the stream here that the CDC lied. I have no idea what they're talking about. They've been spot on all the way through.
Can you talk about using the medication prophylactically?
Yes, in just a second. Mandel says he had the flu 6 weeks ago. Made me think the way I've never had the flu before was so bad, and I lost my taste of smell and taste, my sense of taste and smell, and could barely walk. Those are all symptoms of coronavirus. So people like Mandel need to get an antibody test to see if he or she has had coronavirus. So you may not. It might have been a flu. You can lose your sense of smell from other viruses. But it's sort of typical from coronavirus. So Evan is saying hydroxychloroquine is bunk. Show me your data. The French data was looking good. The Chinese data was looking marginal. People are taking it preventively, or what we call prophylactically. Doctors and nurses are taking it all the time. But let's be fair, they don't need to do it if you keep your hands away from your face. Marty Van says, LA County, USC is a ghost town. Okay. So I am hearing that all the hospitals here in Southern California are low census, ERs, low volume, as they wait for a possible surge. So they are intentionally knocking down the hospitalization rates and the room occupancy to be prepared should it come. If it doesn't come, good. It's not so far. I will tell you, in LA County, we have only 1,400 cases in a county of roughly 10 million. We've got about 4,000 cases in the larger surrounding area, multiple counties of about 30 million people. So we are doing very well and been on lockdown from the beginning here. So the probability of a surge here, I don't know. Are we still doing okay? Yes, we're still doing okay. Part of the U.S. least affected. I was trying to look that up and I couldn't find it. So I'm sorry I don't have that data. Let me look again at Hopkins, see if I can figure that out from... they're can't quite see it from what's going on right now. Give me 1 second, see if I can answer that question, and then I will go back to your stream. And I cannot. Okay, Michigan's starting to accelerate. Detroit's having some problems, but apparently they're getting stuff now. I see people wearing gloves in grocery stores. Yeah, they hold their phone and ATM card. Why wear the gloves? Exactly. The only reason for the gloves is so you don't put your hand to your face, but then you've now touched your phone, and yeah, that you have to be a hand Nazi. A hand Nazi. That is the new phrase.
Contagious, like everything isn't covered with the virus. Like what? I mean, do you think all the people working in the market are sick and they're like working and? I know. I heard they were going to go on strike because they're overworked. But
really?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Be a strike. I was like, well, hire some people that don't have a job right now. Like seriously.
Ruby wants to know, how are we doing? I'm better today. I spent some time outside. I ran yesterday. I slept last night for the first time in a while, and that really, really, really helps. And then that video that we put up here on the stream, if you click through on that Vimeo, that confirmed a lot of the things I suspected. So that was nice to see. Yeah, how do you disinfect your phones? Do you use like a Clorox wipe? That's what I do. I don't know if it's really working. Does Germany... Oh, very funny. I'm not going to read that one. Hang on. You're asking about the case fatality rate of 0.1%? I think Fauci's flu is 0.1%, Corona at 1%. That's right. It's still a small number, and it's probably going to be smaller once we get all our data in. Is amlodipine safe to use? Yes, I'm on amlodipine too. No problem.
Wendy's digging on your arms, Drew.
Wendy, is 50% New York infection rate plausible? not if you're locked down. If you're locked down, you stay locked down. How does that happen, right? It just doesn't happen. So if people didn't follow the lockdown, that'd be one thing.
I think Susie is too.
Can you get coronavirus twice? Everybody asks that over and over and over again, and you cannot. Again, if you please watch that video what we just put out, that it's people that get a second spike on this thing, that they get well and then they get sick again. They just hadn't completely resolved. It's people that tend to keep producing virus, and they can have a recurrence. It's not a reinfection. It's just a recurrence. I like the bleach water combo on a paper towel. I like that. Yeah, it's good. Check Katie Morton's video is good for anxiety and depression. I agree with you on that. Will Florida beaches be open by the end of June? I mean, look, here's the thing. If it makes you feel better to have something to look forward to, like the beaches open towards the end of June, why not look forward to that? Why not do your own assessment and go, we're probably going to get things going to slow down by then. At least the beaches are going to be open. So I look forward to that. I think it's a reasonable thing to look forward to. It's not to say, oh my God, we're going to have to stay locked down. Let's look forward to things that as the lockdown starts to unleash, it starts to loosen, which it's going to. Just a question of when, and the virus is going to tell us when.
It's up in Florida too. It shouldn't be as bad, right?
When what?
When the weather heats up.
Right. It may, the season's ending, and it might, and by the way, it's further south, and this virus doesn't like southern regions of the globe. Good point.
It's hot here in the summer.
Oh yeah, then it's going to be. I used to get the flu when I was a kid in the summer, and it's like I hated it with heat and the flu.
It always comes around again for some reason because everybody like.
Well, it comes around because can viral myocarditis cause hypertension? That's a really interesting question. I would imagine the answer is yes, though not typically, because in a viral myocarditis, the performance of your heart is down, but your body may be compensating for that by somehow clamping down the arteries in the periphery. So that's an interesting question. You get the flu
in the summer or just a cold?
I used to get the flu when I was a kid. Let's put it this way. I had it a couple times in the summer when I was a kid, and it was just so miserable. It just stayed with me. How awful. Because you get sick when you're out in the world and it's super hot and you're starting to get a fever. It's just the worst feeling in the world. Yeah. With corona, can you just have a slight fever for one day? Kind of unusual.
Summer camp or something and picked it
up. What do I think about BCG, tuberculosis vaccine in Australia? Can this be why we're developing countries are doing so okay? No, it looks like developing countries are doing okay because this virus doesn't like the southern hemisphere, and people take hydroxychloroquine in those regions. And so that's why there's some reason that hydroxychloroquine could be useful. I'm laughing because here's somebody, this is Natalie needs to know, do I think Joe Exotic has a good singing voice?
I thought he was pretty good.
Was that him or was that somebody else? I mean, who knows?
Well, they probably,
Yeah, they did a lot of electronic adjustments.
Because you heard him singing over the,
But he was on pitch and he was not bad. That's really, really funny. I love the fact that the thing I'll remember about this entire experience is that the entire country gathered around Joe Exotic and watched Tiger King.
and you said no, he's probably glad he's famous.
Oh, I'm sure he's not happy he's in jail, but he was so hell bent on being famous. Oh my gosh.
Poor guy. Oh my God,
what a mess. Lauren Savan, my friend and former radio partner, tweeted today. She said that just to lift the spirits of the country, Joe's sentencing and imprisonment ought to be commuted. He should be let out of jail to raise the spirits. And then let's hear from Joe Exotic himself.
Something fun to watch.
And Joe, if you have access to electronic media, we'd love to interview you.
Yeah, right.
Or any of the other drug addicts that hung around you, because that was all drug addicts, and that was everyone except Carol and her husband seemed to have a drug problem. I know it when I see it.
Well, I pointed it out first.
Yes, no, we were simultaneously muttering about it.
I was like, ooh.
And I felt terrible about that one guy after the court case. He was strung out again, and I worried that he'd survived this. Yeah.
Poor guy. He was
So do I agree with Mayor Garcetti that we are going to be in New York in the next 5 days? I don't see how we get there. I don't see, certainly not in 5 days. I think we need to be diligent for 12 days. I think that there's a window here when we can prevent from being New York, and we should be able to do so. I'm going to get some data on ICU beds and ventilators and that kind of stuff. I may have that more like Monday. And again, that's a local issue. But I've been very, very pleased and impressed with Governor Newsom and his systematic preparation for worst case scenario. He's really, really prepared for the worst case. So I just don't see how we're not going to be in good shape here, because he's really done a nice job. And as our local LA County officials and the Department of Health, they just are on it as far as I can tell. And I'm trying to get more data to substantiate that. And this is the interesting thing about this whole phenomenon is it's all about local measures. It's all about your county and your Department of Health, where you are, and being prepared. And again, local epidemiology too will determine how we get back to work. Why don't Native Americans get coronavirus? My understanding was there were a couple of Native American nations that were very concerned about their populations. So I don't know that that is true. Should I wear a mask going through an airport or an airplane? Yes. And I've said repeatedly, the elevator, I believe the elevator, other than your hands, the elevator is my gravest concern about widespread transmission. And if you cannot take the stairs, then wear a mask in the elevator. What do I think about Trump putting New York City on quarantine and like a cordoning off? I don't know. I don't understand the logic of cordoning things off, but I think what he's trying to do is prevent people from running to other parts of the country and seeding it. I don't know if you're aware, but there was a major exodus from New York City, Manhattan particularly, onto Long Island, and then all of a sudden there are a bunch of cases on Long Island. A lot of New Yorkers have gone to Florida. Now we're seeing the cases jump up in Florida. So it's a way of just containing it. On the other hand, I could see an argument for let them go to these other places and use hospitals that aren't so overloaded. If they can just keep the local measures diligent, they may not spread it. So hard to say. I'm glad I'm not making that call. Yes, Erica is saying that all the New Yorkers are coming to Florida. I am aware of that. But Erica, keep an eye on it. Are they causing clusters, or are they themselves the ones that end up in the hospital? That would be the question. And if only the New Yorker themselves ends up in the hospital without spreading it, that's not a bad thing then, because then that's unburdening the New York hospitals. So I'm just saying there's lots of ways to think about these things. Your wife is a healthcare worker treating patients. Go watch the video I put up. It's from a physician about being a healthcare worker and what you need to do. Please watch that video. It's comprehensive discussion about exactly this issue. I can post it again. Go post it again. Do I think Fed Smoker died from corona? I think Fed Smoker died from meth. That's my belief.
It's the Vimeo.
Yeah, the Vimeo that we just put up on the Restream.io.
But don't go away. Watch it later.
Yeah, watch it later. To copy it and put it in your...
I don't know if you can. I don't know. Maybe you can. Well, you're on Facebook.
Please answer this. Do the viruses blow around in the wind? They do not. They do not. In fact, they are dissipated by that completely. The only time you really have to worry about what's called the aerosol of the virus, which is somebody coughs and a cloud of virus is in the droplets in front of that person, is on an elevator.
People go to the park and the beach if they're not sneezing and coughing on each other.
I don't quite understand. What you could see I'll tell you why. Because in the video footage of people, say here locally in Runyon Canyon, they were on top of each other. They were like next to each other, and that's
I don't think if they just were 6 feet apart. Then
yeah, but if they touch each other, if they're 6 feet apart, they weren't really doing that.
You have to be sick too.
No, you're right.
I don't know. It's getting on my nerves. I'm sorry.
Joe Biden, what is that Q crew? Give me proof of that. I don't know if I believe that. That would be weird.
Oh, John from Tiger King got new teeth.
Oh, did
you must be making money off of this thing.
That was your most talked about moment.
Oh God.
She didn't like his meth mouth.
No, I thought he was cute, but why did he not have a shirt on all the time? Like,
I don't know. Anybody have any answer to that?
I was like,
and why not get some teeth?
We get it. We got some tattoos there. No teeth.
CPAP and a respirator. Respirator really means a ventilator, and CPAP is just a positive pressure mask. And CPAP, positive pressure helps open the lungs up, the air sacs open, and it helps put pressure on the fluid coming out in ARDS, which is the complication of the virus. No, tell me, Andy, what did the paper say about the French doctor's studies? Love to hear about that. Wouldn't want to be downwind of anyone who coughs or sneezes. Fair enough, but the primary way, let's say I'm as far away as the camera is and somebody sneezes and it blows towards me. The main risk is my hands still. My hands getting it, on my body and then on my face. Hand, not see. Netflix suggested he remains shirtless. Also, they have footage of his new teeth, but didn't air it. Susan, there's your answer.
Oh.
That was the, by the way, that's not Netflix. That is the documentarians.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, I didn't mind. It was just, I know. But
why don't they transport patients out of New York hospitals to rural hospitals? I'm sure people are thinking about things like that. It's a great question.
I love the part where he covered up his tattoo.
Went for a boat ride today, helped your mood. I have no doubt about that. Oh, you liked his bull head on his lower abdomen? Susan? Covering up the tattoo of Joe Exotica.
Sort of funny. Oh my God. I thought he was lasering it off, but I didn't realize it.
He was getting it. Okay, I'm looking at some of your comments.
Crazy world.
Yeah, it is. Though I'm going to have Michelle Ward in here one of these days very soon. She texted me this morning. She said her concern is, if you look her up, she does a lot of discovery ID work, and she's an expert in murderers and psychopath, and she believes there's going to be an uptick of people getting violent in their homes.
I just couldn't deal with it today.
Yeah.
I haven't watched the news today. I don't know what's going on. It's actually kind of nice.
Amlodipine is fine, Joey. I'm on amlodipine. There's a study how Singulair will help prevent pneumonia. Well, I'm not aware of that. That's interesting. I'm sure somebody has looked at that if that data is out there. What do we miss the most when things close down? Someone's asking. Miss being around people. You don't realize how much you like being out in it until in it is empty, right?
That's my manicurist.
Oh, wow.
I do. That was the height of my week, was going to get my feet rubbed and have a manicure. It was lovely. And she's still working, but she just,
Here are a couple of interesting questions. Does wearing a bandana help? Yes, because we don't know that it actually helps with the particulate matter being breathed in, but it absolutely keeps your hands away from your face. Anything that keeps your hands away from your face is a good thing. And the other question was, somebody's asking who was the best man in our wedding. That was Curtis Geeson. Curtis Geeson was the best man in our wedding.
She's best friend.
My best friend. And a friend, it was during the first Gulf War, and a friend that was supposed to be in the wedding had to go out on Mercy, on the ship that's docked here. He's a vascular surgeon, and he went out. And so we had to start filling our wedding party with other people. That was
against our better judgment.
Right. I'm trying to read your questions, so give me a second here to catch up with you guys. How's Bob? Bob is great. I talked to him yesterday morning. He's having a little trouble running programs, though, with all the lockdown, as many programs are having.
He did a dose recently.
Yeah, he did one of these with us last week, so you can find that. It's still up there. Great news from the French doctor. Is that the one, Andy, that Dr. Oz interviewed? Because he was very enthusiastic about hydroxychloroquine. Almost too much. It seemed like he had 500 cases and none of them were hospitalized, was essentially his data.
So Bob was on Dose of Dr. Drew on the 21st of March with Dr. Spaz.
Oh, that's right. Bruce was up here. Okay. Oh, my goodness. All of a sudden it jumped.
I know. You're very popular right now.
How long before we know if Plaquenil is really helping with the azithromycin? I think that's going to be early next week. I think they'll open up some of the studies early next week. I know what the issue was I wanted to address a second ago that somebody mentioned, which was how available is Plaquenil. The drug company is working very hard to distribute it, and it depends where you are. In Nevada, they've outlawed distribution, which I think is insane that medicine is being practiced from the governor's office, number one. In New York, Governor Cuomo outlawed it except for clinical trials. So, which sounds at its surface like okay, and apparently they have 10,000 doses going into clinical trial right now, which is great. That will accelerate the clinical trials. But getting people in clinical trials is a cumbersome process. And if you have someone who's really sick, that seems horrible to me, that you have to obviate their care. And again, the government involved in interfering with someone who might have terrible complications because they don't get something that might be helpful. Okay. Thoughts on South Florida becoming a hotspot? I think that's the New Yorkers heading down there. And I would like to know if that is clustering or if that's just New Yorkers coming down there and getting sick. That would be very interesting to know.
I think airplanes should give you Clorox wipes when you get on the plane.
And a mask. Why not?
I mean, they should have anyways.
Do I think the U.S. death toll will exceed that of Italy? Yeah, we have a lot more people than Italy. It's not going to be as, the percentage of death is going to be way better here, way better. But the total number, let's see, Italy has how many people? Italy, as my hands go to my face. So Italy has 60 million people. We have over 5 times that many people, right? So if we're going to be following them at their death rate, we should have 5 times, let's see, 10,000. We should have 50,000 deaths. And thus far, we're in the hundreds. So I don't know. I don't see that really happening. Can't find Clorox wipes. Dr. Oz has a video on his website on how to make your own Clorox. You know, Bobby, really interesting comment you just made here that Dr. Fauci has always been conservative about treatments all the way back to HIV and AIDS. That is true. I worked alongside of his stuff. He was my guiding light in that outbreak too. And we were overstating the risks. We ended up at about 10 times less deaths than we were predicting. And he's a scientist, so he only goes where the data tells him. So he will not begin to get aggressive with therapeutics until there's clear data. And that was true back with the antivirals back in the day. Let's see.
Somebody on Twitter was asking about turning their heater up to 80 degrees because it kills the virus.
Yeah, I mean, warm and moist maybe give you a little edge. So, but that's not going to take away the hands. If you get stuff on your hands and it gets to your face, there's no warm, moist environment for the virus to die in because it's on your hands and it gets right into you. And there's also some suggestion that the amount of inoculum you're exposed to, the amount of virus that you are exposed to might have something to do with the seriousness of the illness you get. That's been discussed out there a little bit too. So wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands.
Somebody on Twitter also said, explain to people the word prophylaxis. Many thinks it's prophylactics.
Prophylaxis.
Yes.
To prevent.
But
prophylactic is a condom. That's a condom. Prophylaxis is a therapeutic term for prevention.
But if you use the prophylaxis and then you don't get it, you can still get it later.
Yes.
But if you catch it and you use the medication, then you won't get it later.
Yes. Okay. If you get the virus, you build the immunity, period. Preventative, yes, or preventive is the same thing as prophylaxis.
I mean, I got the chicken pox and I took Zovirac so I wouldn't get all the pock marks. And then I caught it again when Douglas got it because he was the last one to get the...
That's how you know you didn't get it twice.
I felt
because it doesn't happen like that.
Though.
It just doesn't happen like that.
I had some pox.
It doesn't happen like that. Viruses do produce viral exanthems, they're called, look just like chickenpox sometimes. But chickenpox, once you've had it, that's it. But the reason people have recurrence is later in life they can get it. The waning after 30, 40 years, that's when people get it again. But you can't get it back to back.
So I just had it for a whole month.
You had something. Yeah, you had something.
I didn't have it when I was a kid, and I caught it when my kids got sick. It was lovely.
Why is the media down on hydroxychloroquine Z-Pak. It's bizarre. They shouldn't be down on anything. We should be looking for any possible hedge we can get on this thing.
I think we're trying not to tell everybody so that everybody doesn't run out and buy it or try to get it.
Yeah, that's fine.
We have to.
Let's. Doctors still are entitled to use it. They can still practice medicine. We are not allowed to practice medicine. Is that what we're saying here?
I'm sure they're using it.
How soon do I think the test for antibodies might be available? It's available now in a very rapid test, like a 10-minute test. Getting it is the hard part. They're only selling it in giant lots, and nobody really has it yet. So I'm hoping next week. Testing. So next week is testing, treatment. What was the other T I said we were going to look forward to? Testing and treatment were the two that I'm really interested in next week, because that will tell us how this thing is likely to, what's going to make it slow down. Is going to be testing and treatment. Testing and treatment.
Somebody mentioned blow dryer.
Yeah, blow dryer is a way of getting positive end expiratory pressure, and so I've had people get sick at home and suck on a hairdryer as a way of staying out of the hospital. Not with COVID. But I've seen people do that kind of thing. Don't do that. Go to the hospital. If you're short of breath, watch the video we just put up twice. If you're short of breath, you go to the hospital. That's it. Period.
All right, I'll test it again. I'm posting the video again.
Okay.
It's a Vimeo.
How big is the risk of a prolonged QT interval from azithromycin hydroxychloroquine? Very minor. It's really people who already have QT issues, like people on methadone. I have prescribed Plaquenil, hydroxychloroquine, for 35 years. Never seen a single side effect. Never. Now we only do it for 5 days for this illness, and we use little higher doses than is usual for, say, for rheumatoid arthritis, or for we used to use it for malaria, but never saw any side effects. Elderberry keeps coming up. I see no evidence that does much of anything. Nicotine gum for blocking the ACE2 receptor. I don't quite see how that would work, but if you see some data on that, I mean, certainly no objection to it. Would the vaccine for pneumonia work? No, the vaccine for pneumonia is for pneumococcal pneumonia, which is a bacterial pneumonia, to streptococcal pneumonia, totally different than these viral pneumonias. Pneumococcal pneumonias are common in older people. That's why we give you the vaccine. There's two vaccines. There's the Pneumovax, and then there's the Prevnar vaccine. You need both to be well protected against the different strains of pneumococcal vaccine, of pneumococcus, which is a totally... Pneumonia just means infection in the lung. There are literally thousands of different kinds of pneumonias. Today, we are fighting the SARS coronavirus 2 viral pneumonia, complicated by ARDS. The pneumococcal pneumonia, for which the pneumonia vaccine was created, it's about 5% of all pneumonias. Why is my dog trying to dig a hole in the carpet right in front of me? Rex, what are you doing? Let's see. No, there's no evidence that Valtrex or Zovirax or Famvir has any activity against this virus. So these viruses are all different in terms of their physiology and biochemistry. Might zinc help a little? It might. All right, Dr. Oz touched on the difference between cardiovascular versus a rhythm disturbance. All right, I'll try to break that down. So cardiac disease usually is talking about the blood, the arteries to the heart getting blocked that makes the muscle weak or break down or die. That is cardio. Also, the arteries throughout your body, people think of as the cardiovascular, right? Heart vascular system. And that can get sick too and start to get narrow and stiff and have cholesterol depositions in it. And it looks like the coronavirus has what's called an inflammatory cascade that springs off of cardiovascular disease. So if you have coronary disease, if you had a heart attack, if you had blockages in the carotid arteries in your neck, you might be at higher risk of complications of the COVID-19 disease. What we were talking about with arrhythmias, which is the heart has a very complicated electrical system that keeps it beating and beating a certain way. The average person's never really seen that there's literally infinite numbers rhythm disturbances the heart can develop, because that electrical system can go a little off or can get sick. And one of the ways it can get sick is if the repolarization, so the heart depolarizes, that's the EKG thing going up, you see. The repolarization is this little T wave at the end. And when the Q, which is the big one, to the T on the other end, lengthen, when the QT interval gets wider due to something changing that electrical system, like a medication, methadone, Plaquenil, hydroxychloroquine, you can get a rare rhythm disturbance called torsade de pointe. And torsade de pointe is a very chaotic, irregular rhythm that doesn't respond to the paddles, for instance. You can't say clear and charge and electrically do much with that one. It responds to certain medications, and you have to have those medications on hand, and that could be quite devastating. Rare, 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 rare. Not the average person should be even thinking about that.
We got an email from somebody who said, if Trump wants to get people back to work, why isn't there titering testing going on now?
That's why I'm predicting that next week you'll see much more testing, because that is going to be the key to getting us back to work, is testing, testing, testing. Yeah. And so the question is, what kind of testing, and how is the testing going to be monitored, and how are we going to learn who's positive, who has antibodies, how are we going to identify each other? Yeah. So we wear wristbands, or wear, colored buttons, or we just have our phones, saying,
a star on your forehead.
Well, what they did in South Korea is they would have alerts that if you got near somebody who testing positive, your phone would go off, and that kind of thing makes perfect sense. We should do that kind of thing. So I think that's the kind of stuff we're going to see next week. Yeah, the FDA did approve the Abbott 5-minute test, but again, those are still hospital-based tests, as far as I can tell, or at least laboratory-based tests. Soon there'll be antibody tests that is like a pregnancy test. You just put a finger stick on it, and it's either yes or no. How bad is the LA with the homeless? Yeah. I'm trying to give the government here time to deal with their homeless situation. They are certainly making progress. They're intending to get people off the streets, though they're doing a somewhat poor job of it, particularly downtown. There have been some cases now of coronavirus in the homeless, and, so it's challenging. It is challenging how to deal with the homeless population. Of course, most of them are resistant. Most of them are drug addicted, and they don't want to go. And I think our government, because they understand they have to put them somewhere, our government is finally coming to terms with that they've just got to put them in somewhere. Let's see. What you guys have? Will I ever run for Congress in LA? We keep talking about it. This whole experience is... I don't know. It's made me less enthusiastic about that. Dr. Fauci is the boss, Amanda. I think that's what your name was, Amanda. Yep. Colloidal silver, please do not do that. You're going to make yourself sick. Follow the CDC guidelines. They know what they're doing. Just do what they say there. Follow Dr. Fauci. Follow Dr. Birx. Why is this not called a flu? It is. It's not influenza, but it's a coronavirus flu syndrome. Sure. Little hope for those with COPD. Well, those with COPD are definitely at high risk and need to stay highly quarantined. And even after the rest of us return to work, I suspect people with those kinds of risk factors are going to have to stay quarantined. Why the doom and gloom? That's the part I get angry with. That's what I tell them to shut up about. They should be patting themselves on the back. It's hard this week. I get it, because we're in the throes of this thing. And yeah, and the numbers are scary, and New York is scary, and it's got to get stable, and then I'm going to get mad at them again for the doom and gloom. The doom and gloom does not help. It does not. No, you're not doomed in New York, Casey. It's going to stabilize. You just keep practicing the social distancing and hand washing. The last thing you want to do is end up in an ER in New York right now. Right. Yeah. Don't go into hospitals unless you are highly suspicious symptoms and short of breath. Oregon's numbers. Let's look at Oregon. I've not looked at them in a while, so give me a second to...
I've been in one of those. It's pretty gnarly.
The ER in Brooklyn. Yeah. Oregon has only 479 cases. You're doing pretty good, Oregon. I mean, you're going to get into the thousands, but in a state that's big and, large surface area like that, I think you should feel pretty secure about things. Hopefully your hospital system is up to the challenge. Yeah, if you look at New Jersey and New York alone, that is 65,000 cases. So of our, that's, again, half. It just stays at half. New York keeps, and if you throw in Washington and California, you get 60% of the cases in the country in those states. There will be more in others. There will be more in others. Let's see who's the lowest. It was West Virginia last I looked. Lowest is South Dakota. South Dakota and Wyoming. And then Puerto Rico have very few as well. Be careful. Yeah. All right. Get back to your stream and your questions.
Somebody wants to know if Shifty Schiff is in hiding.
I don't.
I noticed he kind of fell off the earth.
Yeah, I've seen him once in a while.
Really?
I think Bob was in contact with him.
Bob?
Is it possible to have had COVID in January and February? Yes. Yes. Susan, tell your story.
What's that?
Is it possible to have had COVID in January and February? That's why we need the antibody test to see who's had it.
I think a lot of New Yorkers had it in December. I caught it from somebody on my birthday, as a matter of fact, and it happened 3 days later. Stacy
said she missed what I said about elevators. I said that the vast majority of cases are transmitted through hands, right? It's you. Somebody coughs or sneezes, it gets on you, gets on your hand goes to your face. So hand Nazi, know where your hands are at all times. Don't let it go to your face. Wear something over your face, like a bandana, if you have trouble doing that. But she asked about elevators. My concern has been that the elevator has been a unit of transmission that people have not been thinking about. If someone coughs or sneezes in some of the small little elevators in New York City, the doors close. That person, if they walk out, you walk in 2 minutes later, that aerosol is going to still be sitting there highly concentrated. Or if somebody coughs or sneezes in an elevator with you in it. So I'm saying don't use elevators unless you absolutely have to, and wear masks if you have to. Somebody's asking a question about the incubation period. During the incubation, when you're showing no symptoms, would you still test positive? Yes, there's so-called pre-symptomatic stage where people are positive. Vitamin C therapy, 0 benefit.
I was sick like in 3 days.
Other ventilators, what treatments can one expect when hospitalized? IV fluids, obviously, and there's many different antivirals being tried, as well as some people are using the hydroxychloroquine treatment straight off the top, and people need hospitalization. Cheryl agrees with the elevator is a trap. Yeah, it's a good way to describe it. It's a trap for the virus and just keeps it concentrated there.
I was very careful about that. And they
about the elevators?
They let the elevator controller go. And
I'm hearing the dog panting.
Told everybody to be careful and wash their hands.
Iron deficiency anemia, depend how old you are, does not put you at added risk for COVID. Melissa's certain she had it in December. Don't be certain until you get the antibody test. All you need data. That's what we need now. That is the prominent need for this country is treatment data and testing data. So that is really, really important right now.
We tried to get the tests, but they were very, very expensive. So.
Yeah, they'd only sell in lots of 6,000 and shipping costs of 6,000, 9,000 and $6,000 shipping costs.
$58,000 to get 9,000. So it has to be, funded.
Should I discontinue Flonase? No. Talk to your doctor about that, but there's actually some evidence that things like Flonase and intranasal saline may be helpful. Maybe. So panic is going down. I feel like today it's going down a bit. It's maybe because people have turned off the television and the social media. I know we have around here. People are getting out and walking around. Disinfect shoes and dogs' feet. I just don't see any. I guess if you live in New York City, there's something to that.
Anyways.
Yeah. Does long-term use of hydroxychloroquine reduce my risk? That is a really great question. So you're on hydroxychloroquine for lupus or rheumatoid arthritis or dermatomyositis or something, and they have noticed that people on hydroxychloroquine for malaria seem to be less likely to get it. So there's a possibility that you'll be less likely to get it, but we're waiting on that data. As a person with hypertension, a higher risk, depends how long you've had it and how bad it's been and whether it's been well controlled.
Seems like asthma can be a problem too.
Yep. The CDC has put that on the list, and I've been asked that again and again and again. I wasn't sure at first. I would think that, asthma with emphysema, which can happen pretty easily, would be a problem, but they're saying all asthma now.
We gave Khalees the same bug we had, and she had to go on prednisone because she has asthma.
Yep.
She was really sick.
Yep. Maybe she can get the antibody test. She's in New York. Maybe they'll start doing it there.
Oh, that would be great. Well,
Yeah.
she had a bunch of other stuff after that. We're not sure.
But let's ask her to get that test. That would increase the probability that we had it. If
I would fly to New York to get that antibody test.
I don't know. Somebody wants to know about nasal irrigation after being in public. No, it's really just moisturizer. You don't have to irrigation unless you're normally doing that.
What texture?
All right, let's kind of wrap things up.
We should tell the guy who gave it to us to get the test. He's got a jet. He can fly and get it.
That's not a bad idea.
I was so pissed.
Why don't you text
birthday.
your friend? Why don't you test your friends?
Yeah. Okay. Well, she was asking us to get them.
I wish. Well, she said she wanted it too. Well, she should get him to do it. I've been smoking pot for years. Can I get glaucoma? But I worry about you, Cheryl. Cheryl. The pot smoking can put you at risk. The weed smoking here for this virus. Anything smoking. So switch to something else. Okay, we're going to kind of wrap things up.
Oh, you know
here.
what? I think Khalees went to Australia. So.
Okay, speaking truth always. Does being on methadone make you at high risk? You're not a high risk on methadone, but you might have more trouble using the Plaquenil because of the QT effects of the methadone, particularly the high doses of methadone. So, and methadone doesn't, oftentimes can affect people's health if they're in higher doses. So talk to your doctor about that. I don't think you would necessarily be at high risk. Tell you about tomorrow's show. Tomorrow's show will have, again, Leanne Kreischer, comedian Bert Kreischer's wife in here, the host of Wife of the Party, and then her partner on Where Your Mom's At, Christina P. And then Christina P. and I also have at Dr. Drew After Dark. She is Tom Segura's wife, and again, my and Leanne's partner on the various podcasts at Your Mom's House. So come join us tomorrow. Tomorrow, though, we'll have active phones. So we can actually take questions. Do you have the number offhand, Susan? 984 Dr. Drew, 2 Dr. Drew. 984 Dr. Drew.
And also on Monday.
On Monday, we're going to have the great Jim Jeffries in here. And then that will be somebody saying cheap zoo for sale in Oklahoma. That's funny.
I just texted him to see how he was doing. And then he said, he was home with his son and he just quarantined and
yeah.
And I said, you should come do the podcast because I've been trying to get a hold of him for a long time. But everybody seems to have a little bit more free time on their hands. So.
See my hands go to my face. Poland, any information updates? We have friends from Poland, and things are accelerating there. No, spontaneous pneumothorax does not put you at extra high risk. However, it puts you at risk of complications from mechanical ventilation if you need intubation, but the doctors can manage that. Okay, I keep talking because it's calming you down. I appreciate this calming you down. That is my primary goal is to get everybody kind of cooled out. You will also get calmed down if you watch the video we put up here. To put it up twice, 3 times. Want to put it up again, Susan, before we go? Yeah, yes. Joe Rogan put out mentioned that the virus can live for 17 days on surfaces. That was documented in a cruise ship, and there is almost no evidence that causes transmission. The primary transmission is your hands. Watch the video. Watch the video we put up. Is it up again here? There it is. We just posted again. So click through on that or copy it and go now because I'm going to wrap this thing up. So we will see you guys tomorrow at 3 o'clock Pacific time with Christina P. and Leanne Kreischer, and then again on Monday with Jim Jeffries. And we got Brad Williams on deck and Andy Dick on deck, and people to kind of...
I was going to have Andy call in today, but he was moving yesterday. But he's sober, by the way.
It's good.
And he remembered who I was, and he was nice to me.
He didn't say, you're not my friend anymore?
Oh, yeah, he was pretty bad. He's like, who is this? I don't know you.
Who's...
I went, uh-oh.
Yeah, the blood types don't matter. Stop asking that question. And everybody stay well and watch that video we put up, and I think you'll feel even a little better still. So we will see you tomorrow. Needles have increasingly become a part of everyday life. Proper disposal is both difficult and expensive. We have the solution. Simpler, safer, affordable, and fulfills the obligation to protect our environment. A single stick with something like this means tracking down the user, it means blood test for the person's stock, it means possibly medication for an extended period of time. Needle sticks are devastating. No more. Incinerate the needle. Needle goes in this port. It's over. Done. Needle gone. We all have loved ones who use needles. Keep their home safe. Medical offices are loaded with sharps. We are using ancient technology to protect our patients, our staff, ourselves. You know what needle sticks do. You know the cost and the devastation psychologically and physically, potentially, from a needle stick. Eliminate that completely. Stop using ancient technology. Sand MIDI. It will solve your problems. Find out more at needledestructiondevice.com. I am so grateful for our friends at Blue Microphones. Not only have they completely changed what our show sounds like, they've given me headphones so I can monitor things better. This is the mic for millions of creative people, and now I know why. I'm so grateful for them completely changing the quality of our audio. You'll find Blue mics like Yeti and the Mouse, which we're using here, both in pro studios and home studios, literally all over the world. Their popular Yeti caster is a Blue Yeti microphone, plus a boom arm system that's behind many of your favorite podcasts. I run into them all the time, and now I know why. If you've ever thought about creating your own podcast or YouTube channel, Blue can make you sound and look great. Just visit bluemic.com and click Get Started, and you can start telling your story. We've all been very focused on how to stay healthy these days, but we've not been talking about hydration. If you get coronavirus, flu, or even experience allergies, cold, a variety of everyday ailments, they all need hydration. And that's why it's a perfect time to welcome our friends at Hydrolyte back. This is a great product. You all know I've talked about it for a long time. This was the hydration product I wanted to invent, and they got it there before me. Now, remember, dehydration can make you feel sick, even a slight amount, and none of us need that anxiety right now. So stay well hydrated. I am thrilled to welcome our good friends at Hydrolyte back to the show. Longtime fans remember my obsession with Hydrolyte, which is literally the best hydration product I have found. I'm even more excited to introduce their brand new single-serve powder sticks. Simply pour one powder stick into a glass of water. They recommend 7 ounces. The powder dissolves instantly and creates the perfect balance of sodium, glucose, and water to deliver up to 4 times the electrolytes of your typical sports drink. And think about it. You can take this anywhere. You should have it on hand to just pour it into water, and you have a real significant hydration product. The other great news about Hydrolyte, the powder sticks, they are 100% natural, no artificial flavors, colors, or sweeteners, and they are available in flavors like orange and lemonade, and they taste great. Hydration is crucial. Hydrolyte is the fastest and easiest way to stay ahead of it. And you can find Hydrolyte powder sticks in the digestive aisle at Walgreens or Amazon, or simply just go to my website, drdrew.com/Hydrolyte. Again, that is drdrew.com/HYDRALYTE. You see it spelled here. There it is. And you enter the code DRDrew18 to save 30% off your order. Forget the runs on toilet paper. There should be runs on this. This is doing much more for your health than toilet paper. So go get some, have it on hand. If anybody in your family gets sick, you need to keep them hydrated, and that's how you do it.